Thank each and every one of y'all for being here. Again, my name is Arnold Austin. I am a certified relationship coach, relationship trauma coach out of Jersey. I've been teaching a series this week on emotional damage, and the causes of it, and how we can navigate past it. I trust anybody that's going to come here and that watches this video that you're going to gain some insight based upon watching this video. And it's going to make a tremendous difference in your life. One of the things I want to do is I want to briefly just hit over some of the things that I've already discussed in video 1 and 2. And then when I get to the last 3, because this lesson will this video will be the last video as part of a 3-video series on the topic of emotional damage. And so when you look at emotional damage, the definition that I like to start with, or that I received, was emotional damage often manifests as difficulty trusting. It also represents a form of numbness and negative thought patterns stemming from past traumas. So these past difficult challenges that this individual has gone through in their life, it brings a level of numbness, it brings a level of not trusting, it brings a level of negative thought patterns, and what it does is it's all stemming from what happened in our past. And so the thing that I would suggest to you is that as long as you're living in your past, you can't live in your future, because you're not allowing yourself to stay in the place of where you are right now. That is hindering you from getting to where you want to go. Okay, so one of the first things that happens when someone is in the place of emotional damage is that a lot of times they'll have low self-esteem, and the low self-esteem is as a result of the trusting, not being able to trust people that they should have been able to count on, whether it was a parent, whether it was a teacher, whether it was some person or something around them that they should have been able to count on, that they weren't able to count on. And so because of it, they develop a trust wound where they can't trust people. And so it ends up developing low self-esteem. It ends up becoming into numbness emotionally, where when someone is numb emotionally, they're not going to really be receptive and open to you, which will lead to chronic anxiety and depression. So all of these things, it's like they stack on top of each other, which makes this person's life harder and harder, because they're stacking one negativity on top of another. They're stacking one negativity behavior, one negative pattern on top of another. So they're building they're not building on a solid foundation. They're building on something that's going to end up falling at some period of time. So when you look at the chronic anxiety and the depression, those are all parts of the pieces. Difficulties, number 5, would be difficulties regulating their emotions. They'll go through a lot of ups and downs. They won't be comfortable with being in a healthier relationship where it's a peaceful relationship without a bunch of arguments. They need the drama. They need that drama in the sensationalism. They need you, making a fuss over them or arguing with them about cheating or checking phones and all of those type things, because of why? The emotional damage. Because they can't trust you. So because they can't trust you, and them trusting you many times, they don't have anything to do with you. It has something many times to do with them and their own and where they are, and because of the experiences that they've gone through. Because again, this is based upon past traumas that have taken place. This isn't based upon what's going on right now. This is past traumas that have taken place within their lives. So they're going to have difficulties regulating their emotions. So you're going to be with this person, and you're going to be having a nice evening or a nice dinner, a nice conversation, and you say one word, the wrong word, and then all of a sudden it's World War III. So this is the type of stuff that I'm saying, that if you want to have healthier relationships, because many of the people that I'm coaching and that I'm talking to, and whether I do my TikTok and these different lives and different things, people are always asking questions about dating, and should I start dating again? And how do you meet somebody? And where do you meet somebody? And all these things concerning dating. And the thing that I try to tell people is that, it's fine that you want to date, but one of the things that happens is that, you got to kind of know what's out there. You got to kind of know where people are that you're meeting. So to me, there's just certain things that you have to be aware of, certain behaviors that you have to be aware of. Not aware of it like you're keeping a total on everything this person does, but you have to be keenly aware of the way that they handle and do certain things, because that's a representation of who they actually are. Because many people that you meet, they're going to bring a representation. They're going to bring a representative to you when you meet them. They're not going to actually bring who they actually are. They're not going to tell you about all of the issues and the things that happen in their life and in their family. So you have to kind of do some excavating and dig and find out. So 6 would be reluctant to form close relationships, which I mentioned. 7 would be flashbacks. One of the keys or one of the issues is because these are things that happened in these people's past, they're going to get flashbacks where they're going to see themselves reliving whatever that traumatic experience was again. If it was not dealt with, if there isn't a place of sitting in it, feeling it, understanding what you felt, understanding why it came, how you can overcome it, how you can navigate past it, then it'll be a process of this person is going to have a flat, and even if they've dealt with it, there could be times of flashbacks where they're having recurring flashbacks of that traumatic event that took place. And the thing is, our minds are so powerful and so creative that when they have the flashback, their mind doesn't know the difference between if it's a flashback or if it's an actual experience. They're actually re-experiencing that experience again, because this is just how powerful our minds are. So the experience is still brand new to them. It's not something that's far off or something that's crazy. So the piece that I want to talk to you all about tonight, I'm only going to talk to you about 3 things, and I wanted to give you all like a kind of brief overview of the other things. And if you get a chance, go watch my other videos, which will talk to you more in detail about video 1 and 2, which will talk to you more in detail about all of the other topics that I just mentioned in more detail. So number 8 is what happens by someone being, not being able to trust and going through the poor self-image and, not willing or not able to open up and build close bonds, and just all these things are stacking on top of each other. What happens is this person gets to a hopeless place in their lives. And when they get to this hopeless place, what happens is a lot of times individuals, they run off to a couple different directions, either to another person or to some substance, some person, place, or thing, some substance, or either they'll run towards work, some substance, or something. And so some people, because of where they are, and that's the thing that they're more geared to do, they will go towards substances, whether it's alcohol, drug, illegal substances, or it's sex, or all these different things which can become addictions. They'll run to some addiction because of that emotional damage brings a level of void within their lives, because they know that they can't open up they're not open to other people, so that it creates a void. So because of the void, they got to fill it with something. If they're not going to actually go through the healing journey and get better from their experience, then they're going to try to fill that experience with something. And so with that being said, when we start developing these destructive behaviors, the destructive behaviors aren't going to get us better. It's going to soothe us and take care of us for a moment, but it's not going to allow us to get better. It's not going to allow us to address the issue. It's not going to allow us to get to the origin of where the emotional damage stemmed. What is the origin of the emotional damage? Where did it come from? What was the original place of where this emotional damage came from? So because when we can get to the place of where it came from, then we can actually deal with it, because we can address it. And we won't be masking it based upon another substance or working ourselves, in excess and or getting involved with all these other people and doing all these other things, which are just trying to distract us from the objective, which is at hand. So number 9 is they're going to have, as part of it, you're going to have difficulties in forgiveness, difficulties in forgiving others, and holding grudges, because there's a sense of empowerment that people have by holding a grudge, instead of understanding that when you really start digging and understand the power of forgiveness. I'm not saying this as an individual. I'm sitting on here, I'm sharing this information, but when I was going through my journey, my healing process of being married, because I was married for 30 years, ended up getting divorced, so going through my healing journey, I had a coach, and part of what my coach would often tell me is that, Arnold, you have to get to a place where you're forgiven. And when she would initially say that, I didn't do anything wrong, I would start telling my resume and how good of a person I was and all the things I did and how I was faithful and how I trying to take care of my family and what my goal was. I would just tell all these things which were not even important. But I just had to spew out my resume just so I would feel better about my decision of not forgiving, because my mindset was, if someone intentionally did that, I'm not going to forgive them because they did it because they knew they were doing it. I just had all these things, and she would just tell me, my coach was very patient with me, and she would tell me, she said, Arnold, you got to forgive. She said, you got to get past it. And I was studying one night, and this was around the time I had numerous people around my life, and I considered it a synchronicity, because I went over my parents, and my parents were talking about forgiveness. And then I went somewhere else, and a friend of mine called me on the phone. A friend of mine I was talking to, having conversations with in Tennessee. She ended up calling me one day. She just called me out of the blue to ask me a question. And we ended up getting on the topic of forgiveness. And there was somebody else. And so it was like 3 or 4 people within maybe, let's say, a couple days or a week that talked to me about forgiveness. So I said, okay, this is a synchronicity. I'm getting this message. And so one of the things that I ended up doing is when I wrote my book, and the name of my book is How the Pain of Heartbreak Propelled Me to Healing by Arnold Alston. And when I wrote my book, that was the last chapter that I wrote in my book about forgiveness. And one of the things that really stuck out to me about forgiveness is forgiveness represents it's a conscious decision to release whoever the person is, release them from what they've done. It is a conscious decision. So just like part of the definition says it is a conscious decision, it can be a conscious decision not to do it. And I decided to do it because I didn't want anything I didn't want this person to still be holding on to me in my life or in their life. I wanted there to be a clean cut. And the only way you can have a clean cut is actually letting this person go, releasing them. So when you're forgiving them, you're releasing them of what they've done. This isn't diminishing the fact of what was done. This is just saying, for me, I'm releasing them of what they've done. Because what they've done is no longer, I'm moving past it. I'm moving on, because, but the problem was if an individual's in a place of emotional damage, they're going to have a lot of issues or challenges with actually forgiving. They're going to have difficulties forgiving others of the things that they've done because of the level of pain that they're in. And when we're in painful situations, it's hard for us to see the part of forgiving somebody else because of where we are in that moment. It seems unreasonable because we're so busy focused on what they did instead of focusing on what were we supposed to gain from it. I was supposed to gain a clearer understanding of when to say yes and no. I was supposed to learn, really what it is to truly love myself. I was supposed to learn what healthy boundaries look like. I was part of mine was to learn, what true intuition is and understanding that internal voice. So 10, which would be the last thing, is, many times when there's a lot of emotional damage, they'll have negative worldwide views concerning, they'll be cynical and pessimistic about things and not really believe a lot of things. But there's a lot of people in society are like that because of not believing politicians and, preachers or whoever because of an experience. And that's my thought for you for today. My name is Arnold Alston. I approve of this message. Thank you, each and every one of you, for tapping, subscribing, liking, sharing, anything that you do. Appreciate each and every one of you. Thank y'all for being with us. Appreciate you for joining us. If you're interested in getting my book, you can go to my TikTok, which is Arnold at Arnold Alston 231, or you can just Google and look up healing. How the Pain of Heartbreak Propelled Me to Healing by Arnold Alston on Amazon. Like I always say, I believe in you, but you gotta believe in yourself. Thanks. Talk to you soon.